97.3. Come on, come on, come on, come on, come on, come on, come on. Let's go, let's go, let's go, let's go.
Traffic Avenue, the show for me and you. Mondays to Fridays, ooh, the Traffic Avenue. Traffic Avenue, the show for me and you. Mondays to Fridays, ooh, the Traffic Avenue.
Flex. Buckle up and join the best. Let's succeed, relieve your stress. So yes, let the music soothe your soul and keep it going just to refresh. Buckle and enjoy the ride from 2 to the half of the 5. Mondays to Fridays, happening live. Where we gon' have a ball, you can text your guys. Let me tell you what you really gotta do. You can count on us, we come through. We got everything you need, that's true. Are you ready for the Traffic Avenue? Let me tell you what you really gotta do. You can count on us, we come through. We got everything you need, that's true. An applause for the Traffic Avenue.
Traffic Avenue, the show for me and you. Mondays to Fridays, ooh, the Traffic Avenue. Traffic Avenue, the show for me and you. Mondays to Fridays, ooh, Traffic Avenue, oh yeah.
Buckle up and join the best. Let's succeed, relieve your stress. So yes, let the music soothe your soul and keep it going just to refresh. Buckle and enjoy the ride from 2 to the half of the 5. Mondays to Fridays, happening live. Where we gon' have a ball, you can text your guys. Let me tell you what you really gotta do. You can count on us, we come through. We got everything you need, that's true. Are you ready for the Traffic Avenue? Let me tell you what you really gotta do. You can count on us, we come through. We got everything you need, that's true. An applause for the Traffic Avenue.
Traffic Avenue, the show for me and you. Mondays to Fridays, ooh, the Traffic Avenue. Traffic Avenue, the show for me and you. Mondays to Fridays, ooh, Traffic Avenue, oh yeah.
Detailed news, unparalleled coverage. City News on 97.3 FM.
Eyewitness News. Be there as it happens.
City News.
Hello, good evening. Welcome to Eyewitness News, coming to you live from our studios at number 11, Dr. Martin Loop in Adabraka in Accra. My name is Salom Adonu. Tonight I'm here with
Akusia Ocho.
Coming up in the next 90 minutes, dooms or looms as IPPs look set to turn off their plans if their ongoing meeting with government to settle at least 30% of their indebtedness fails to yield results. Meanwhile, former President Mahama pleads with the power producers not to shut their plants. There is more later on Eyewitness News. Also coming up, European Parliament passes regulation mandating Ghana to provide evidence that cocoa being exported to European markets is devoid of deforestation and child labor issues. Still on Eyewitness News, MPP releases vetting schedule for all 10 presidential aspirants. Alan and Baumia slated for Monday. There is more also later on Eyewitness News. Stay with 97.3 City FM for more on this and other stories on Eyewitness News. And in business,
Worsening economic conditions ahead showed IPPs cut power supply to national grid due to debt owed by government. We get to hear from economist Professor John Gachi.
Neil Atelate returns in the next 50 minutes for more on this story and on others. Eyewitness News is live across the country and on all our affiliates around the globe at citynewsroom.com. Your comments are welcome via our WhatsApp line 054-9986-996. You can follow me on Twitter at Selom Adunu. The hashtag, as always, is City Newsroom. Akosia gives us our very first story.
The chairman of the Mines and Energy Committee of Parliament, Samuel Atah-Achia, says measures are being put in place by the government to forestall a shutdown of power plants by the independent power producers tomorrow. The lawmaker says, knowing the dire implications of the withdrawal of power from the system by the IPPs, the government is committed to dealing with the concern of the producers. Speaking to journalists in Parliament, Samuel Atah-Achia denied claims of selective payment of the 1.7 billion debt owed to the IPPs by the finance minister.
The full facts as to whether it's a selective way of payment. But I'm educated that the whole independent power producers are concerned about the necessity that they should be paid. And if you pay one and you don't pay the other, and the power is withdrawn, what will be the consequence? I don't think the Minister of Finance will do that kind of thing, because essentially it's a whole, area that you should know that it's not just one company, but several of them. So I don't think there should be cherry picking at all. It should be a way that is even and just.
Tomorrow is the deadline. Per your interaction with government, are we going to see this particular threat called off, or we are going to see them shut down their plants?
I do not think it will come to that, because the government is acutely aware of the implications of withdrawing power from the system. So the government is doing everything to ensure that it won't come to that.
From what we gathered from the Deputy Minister of Energy yesterday, government is owing $2.4 billion to IPPs, fuel suppliers and all that. How do we deal with this particular debt just to make sure that the energy sector does not collapse?
It's a finance matter, and the finance minister should find a way to ensure that even if they will be met in some reasonable terms, you should do it. If you don't have all the money, but there's a goodwill to pay some of the money, it will urge them to give you the power. So that's the whole point of the matter. But when you take a stand against you not paying them at all, then you are trying to dare them to cut the power. But I don't think that's what the minister will do. I believe that the minister should give them the firmest assurance that, okay, we owe money, but you'll be paid over time.
So that was Samuel Atah-Achia, he's chairman of the Mines and Energy Committee of Parliament. Meanwhile, the minority has accused the finance minister, Ken Ofori-Atta, of discriminatory payment of debt owed the independent power producers. Speaking to journalists, the ranking member on the Mines and Energy Committee, John Jinapo, appealed to the IPPs to rescind their decision.
A shutdown of their plants would mean that this country would experience massive load shedding, massive blackouts, massive doomsday that has not been experienced before. When 50% of the total power produced is taken out, your guess is as good as mine. I have spoken to former President Mahama, and he has indicated that on his behalf, I should make a passionate and humbling appeal to these independent power producers, that for the sake of this country, he's making a passionate appeal to them to reconsider their decision towards shutting their plants on the 1st of July. That is the deadline they've given to government. And so I want to make a passionate appeal and plead with the independent power producers to give government and the nation some more time. But even as we are pleading with them, we wish to call on government to demonstrate leadership, to show commitment. And I think that the approach being adopted by the finance minister will not resolve the issue. The finance minister, instead of dealing with the chamber of IPPs, is engaged in selective payments, discriminatory payments, selecting some preferred IPPs, paying them, and leaving others to their own fate. We want to call on the finance ministry and government, and particularly the president, to intervene urgently in this matter and ensure that we find an amicable solution. The debt, as we speak now, is about $1.7 billion, and it keeps compounding. ECG's losses today is over 30%. Forest losses alone accounts for more than $300 million. Fuel supplied that has not been paid runs into hundreds of millions of dollars. The inefficiency in the system is killing the sector, and government must do something. When we vote you into power, we vote you to accept both assets and liabilities. Government must be proactive, government must engage the IPPs, and government must make some commitment to the IPPs. The IPPs are demanding a minimum payment of 30% of this outstanding bill. Even if government cannot pay all, at least government should meet them halfway whilst we find solution to these challenges. And so once again, on behalf of His Excellency President Mahama, I wish to make a passionate call and make a humble appeal to the IPPs not to shut their plants on the 1st of July. A shutdown will mean that this country would move back into crisis and we can no longer function as a country.
John Jinapo is ranking member on the Mines and Energy Committee of Parliament.
Now, Nana Amoisi, the seventh, is also the executive director of the Institute for Energy Securities. He understands matters in this arena, and so we've called him up to help us appreciate some of the issues better. Hello, good evening, sir. Welcome to Eyewitness News. How serious is it? Is it one of those things that people say and government runs and to them, and so they change their minds, or it appears to you from where you sit that the IPPs are really determined to turn off the plants should government fail to pay them the 30% at least of what government owes them?
Good evening to you, Salom, and to your listeners. Yes, we can understand the posture of government to some extent. This is not the first time the IPPs have threatened to shut down their plants because of what government owes them. If I could count, in the last 6 years, we've cited about 4 or 5 incidents. In all these cases, government or they themselves were not able to make good their word, and power were spared of any shutdown. And so it could be the reason why government believe that, look, they won't shut it down for whatever reason, because it's not the first time they are saying this. But then when you go to the corridors of the IPP this time, you get an indication that this time around, they mean business. They don't want to get they don't want to hear any theories, no policies, no stories, nothing apart from government making a clear commitment to paying 30% of what they are owed. And so that's what we pick from the corridors of the IPPs. This time around, they mean business.
I see, but government is been trying to engage them. Really, government wants to do a debt restructuring with them in respect of what it owes them, $1.73 billion. But they say no. That really puts government in a very difficult situation. Almost every debtor to government is taking a hit, in one way or the other, haircuts here and there. Is it not, are the IPPs not being too heavy-handed on government, turning down government's attempt or proposal to restructure their debt so government can have some time to pay?
If a bondholder chooses to go by government restructuring, mechanism, that is fine, because that bondholder probably the money in there is his own money, and so can manage whatever shock that will come out of that. But when you find any plant in Ghana, it's largely as a result of somebody's financial or financing structure. And so this IPP or any other power producer in Ghana owes a lender, owes a financing scheme. And when you don't pay on time, then, of course, get to know that you are compounding your issues, and also you are suffering some reputational damage because you don't pay your debt on time. And so if they choose to go and do the restructuring, then, of course, they might first go to their financiers and say that we are going to restructure. We are going to go into terms of government, and so accept that. If the financiers don't accept that, there is no way the individual power producers can go into any other agreement with government. Not at all.
So what should government be doing? I mean, government has been engaging them, all day today, some part of yesterday, etc. And indeed, the allegation that government is selectively dealing with some of them, rather than talking to the chamber, which is a group of all of them put together, there's that allegation that government is being discriminatory in how it intends to pay them, etc. Is there anything wrong with that approach? In any case, government contracted with them individually. So why should government be forced, or why should there be that impression that government should be dealing with all of them together? Is there anything wrong with government seeking to deal with them individually in a discriminatory fashion?
Well, we don't have any, idea about the situation. You were just telling us. But then they are now coming in as a chamber, and they want to be dealt with as such. If government chooses to deal with anybody individually, and the person also accepts, that is fine. But this is the indication we have gotten since the last 3 days. All the IPPs have served notice to GRIDCO and issued zero nomination. It means that they have declared out that we don't have any power available for you from the 1st of next month. All of them have done that. And so government will be doing that at its own risk by dealing with them individually. Yes, all of them have given indication to GRIDCO that we have declared unavailability. And so we believe that the best way out is to engage them as a body, engage their leadership, and have a way out. Prove some form of commitment to them. And I'm sure the Ghanaians are like us, and they also understand they are in business. And I'm sure that they want to be in business for a long time. That's why at this moment we also add our voice that the IPPs might be considerate at a point and save us the shame and reputational damage. Because if they succeed in shutting down Pelham, it's going to send a wrong signal to potential investors. It suggests the poor handling of the power sector by government. And that reputational damage will be huge going forward. If they do it once, I bet you, they have now the trump card to repeat it at any point in time. That becomes a bad precedent. And so government should also find a way and avert the situation. And the IPPs must also be considerate at a point and save us the shame.
But how considerate can they be? And how can they do that? Because they say that they do not have the resources to go beyond, today, June 30th, which means that by end of today, they might have run out of resources that will continue, leaving the plants on. What can they do? How considerate, how else can they get?
To the IPPs, a firm commitment from government is enough of a resource. They can go to the market and shop with that. So government must give them some firm commitment.
So why, if this firm commitment is enough, why then do you think government is being, should I say, sluggish in giving this commitment?
Yeah, we've all seen the lackadaisical attitude towards resolving this issue from government, and we kind of wonder why. But you and I were not there, and we can't speak for government why they chose to sit all this while and wait to the last minute before they start engagement. That is very bad.
Others have also suggested that the ECG and NETCO in recent months have, collected quite a bit of money, and is that not enough to plug some holes at least?
Well, that might be a starting point, but that will not be enough. You see, we'll keep on compounding this debt until we choose at a point to block all the leakages in the system. A high level of transmission and distribution losses in the value chain, in the supply chain, it's one end that contributes to this situation that we have. You have transmission loss of close to 5%, distribution loss of close to 28%. You are losing almost 33% of your power that you procure from the power producers. How can you account for this? How can you be going through these losses and still believe that you can sustain the power sector and you'll be able to meet the obligation to the power producers. And so the ECG and Gridco and Netco must also, up their game and block the leakages. For over 10 years, we've invested, every year we invest into the transmission system. Yes, it's the same level of losses that we incur year on year. So what is the incentive in investing in the grid? Maybe it's time to consider something different. The approach may be wrong. They should go back to the drawing board and work on that.
Very well. Thank you so much. Nana Moisi the seventh, Executive Director of the Institute for Energy Securities, IES, speaking to us on this matter on Eyewitness News. We understand that the IPPs and the Finance Ministry or government generally have been locked up in a meeting the whole day. They are still there. Our sources say that the meeting may come to an end soon and a statement will be issued if there is an agreement. Otherwise, by tomorrow, the plants will be turned off, and that will mean that Ghana will be plunged into, some form of doomsday. The IPPs together, in terms of the power generation mix of Ghana's power, contribute some 47, almost 50% of the generation mix, and in terms of the thermal power, they contribute about 65%. So that's quite huge, and that's a volume of what we are looking at. Eyewitness News on 97.3 City FM. A number of your messages have been coming through. I'll read a few of them to you as soon as we return from this break. Don't go away.
Eyewitness News. Be there as it happens.
You know, Papa, see that? And it's rickety car. Hey, Papa! Papa! Bobo, so how's your engine now? It is half man, half amazing. Thanks to Quartz and you can't feel better energy. Can't touch this. Actually, guys, so Sancho's engine just died like that. Yes, so somebody managed to convince him that there is a better engine oil than Quartz, and he switched. Sancho Panza. Now, which engine oil can be better than Quartz? No other, my guy. Quartz with its age-resistant technology, it keeps your engine younger for longer. Now you know. Have you guys seen the new bottle design? It's superb. Quartz 9000 from Total Energies there improves fuel efficiency. Why do you think Mr. Mane and Logoso have taken the Quartz Nation movement World Cup like that? Sorry. Chairman. Quartz. Keep your engine younger for longer.
For Pepsodent, smiles are one of the most important things we have. The problem is, globally, 1 in 2 children suffer from cavities. Pepsodent, with maximum cavity protection, helps to prevent the formation of cavities. Pepsodent, because every smile matters. This advertisement has been vetted and approved by the FDA.
This July, get up to 50% off Electroland Ghana Limited products. Massive Discount Bazaar is on again. Get massively discounted electronics and home appliances.
From Electrolux, Samsung, Media, ABB, Nasco, Homeland, and good news, Toshiba is having a clearance sales.
From Friday to Sunday, 7th, 8th, and 9th of July, 9 a.m. each morning at Coca-Cola Roundabout Spintex. Items are a mixture of brand new, slightly used, scratched, showroom display, repaired, and dented.
Call 050-315-9739.
EGL, home of electronics and affordable luxury.
Let your voice be heard on Eyewitness News on Facebook at facebook.com/City97.3, Twitter at twitter.com/City973, and Instagram at instagram.com/City973 with the hashtag Eyewitness News.
Eyewitness News on 97.3 City FM. Now, the European Parliament has passed a regulation that mandates Ghana to provide evidence that cocoa being exported to the European market is deforestation and child labor free. The law took effect from June 29. However, main prohibitions and obligations will not apply until December 2024. The new law aims at minimizing the EU's contribution to deforestation across the world. Aside from cocoa, the legislation also covers commodities associated with forest degradation, including palm oil, wood, coffee, soya, cattle, and rubber. Public Relations Officer of the Ghana Cocoa Board, Fifi Boafo, joins me on the line for some more updates and more explanation of what this really means for Ghana on this matter. Hello, good evening, sir. Welcome to Eyewitness News. When did this regulation passed by the European Parliament come to your notice as Ghana Cocoa Board?
Well, we've been engaging the European Union for over 2 years now, so we've been following the processes leading to the passage of this bill by the EU Parliament. So yes, the moment it was passed, we knew of it, just as I said, because we've been engaging the EU Parliament on the processes that led to the passage of the bill.
I see. So the issue about child labor, for example, in cocoa growing areas, children engaged in cocoa farming, etc., it's not new. It's a matter that, is come up every now and then. What progress really have we made in respect of this? And what do we have to show to the EU or the European market, for example, that we have complied or children are not engaged on the farms, etc.? What do we have to show before we are cleared to continue exporting to their markets?
So there are two major issues that have been looked at with regards to the passage of this bill. One has to do with deforestation, and the other one has to do with child labor.
Yes.
Specifically with deforestation, what we have done is to put in place a mechanism that is able to help us trace the cocoa to the farmland, an innovation that is not found in any cocoa producing country. So this helps us to trace the cocoa, as I said, to the farmer who is producing the cocoa, and then also to the farm where the cocoa is produced. Over the years, what has happened is that we've been doing traceability from the district level to the port of shipment. This time round, we have put in place a system called the Cocoa Management System. The Cocoa Management System takes the biodata of the cocoa farmer as well as the polygon maps of the farm. So we are able to tell that the cocoa that is produced in this ship came from 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 farmers in District A, and the farms are located in these localities. For that reason, we'll be able to say that if you look at the polygon maps, none of the farms the cocoa was produced can be located in a forest reserve. For that reason, we are able to justify that indeed the cocoa that is up for sale in the EU market, it is one that passed the test which is required of us as a cocoa producing country. In the same vein, since we have the data of all these farmers, we are able to say that farmer A, who is producing in this locality, is not employing the services of kits in the production of cocoa, for which reason we are able to justify that the cocoa is produced devoid of kits involvement. And then we can then justify that the cocoa that we are selling to the EU market is one that passes the test of the EU.
I really wanted to deal with the issue of child labor first, but that is fine. You've taken us to the deforestation arena. So what has the result really been, and how satisfactory do you think that the results that we have chalked will be to the European markets?
Well, recently there was an engagement in Brussels where we did a presentation of the system we have put in place, and the participants at the seminar were all shocked at the level where Ghana has reached in terms of satisfying the requirement of the EU with regards to this law. So it is quite satisfactory. Indeed, as I speak to you, there's a team in Asin Fosu in the central region where we are piloting this process. And the process will be fully rolled out beginning October this year. And we are quite satisfied that considering the work that has gone into it, the collaboration, and then also the commitment shown by the farmers, we will be able to pass this test.
I see. Does the law really draw any distinction between forest reserve and off reserve? I mean, that doesn't make any such distinction. And what does it do that?
Indeed, it's one of the things that we have fought strongly on, because the people who were involved in this conversation at the initial stages considered that when you say a forest reserve, whether it's off reserve or is one that government says this place has been demarcated as a forest reserve and you cannot go in there. There was lack of clarity, and we have to point it out that we need to distinguish between the two so we do not get it confused. Indeed, what we have done is that together with the Forestry Commission, we will superimpose the maps we have created with that of the Forestry Commission to draw a clear distinction that this is what the place where you cannot cultivate cocoa. And then we show that what we have done is one that is not falling within the forest reserve.
I see. So what was the response of the European Union or markets to your query about lack of clarity in the distinction? What did they say to that?
Well, said the conversation has taken place for over 2 years now. So the understanding is there, and now they know the difference between the two. So we do not think that would be an issue forward.
So this means that from how things look now, the law currently will not permit farms expansion in the off-reserve areas. And what would that mean really for our quest to increase production of cocoa, of the cocoa commodity?
Well, for us, we have maintained that if you are a farmer and the law prohibits you from going into a forest reserve, you are not supposed to do that. So we do not encourage that. What we encourage rather is that if you are a farmer, you should be able to work within the land space where it is permitted for you to cultivate cocoa, and you are not supposed to go into the forest reserve. So that we've been working with over the years. Of course, there have been instances where some of the farmers have decided to move into the forest reserves, and then the necessary action has been taken. But going forward, we believe that everywhere we seek to expand or we seek to improve productivity, we do not think that going into the forest reserve is the way to go. Rather, we are helping the farmers with some agronomic practices which hitherto were not employed in the production of cocoa to be able to improve their productivity. So with a limited land space, we still should be able to improve our productivity, not a bigger land space, as a means of improving our productivity or production generally as a country.
Very well. How about child labor? Do we have clarity on what really the European Union, for example, thinks child labor is? Because the concern we hear normally from people is that doesn't mean if I take my child to my farm to go help me work during vacation, that will constitute child labor. What's the progress really on the child labor front as well?
In fact, that was the biggest fight because if we look at our understanding, our socialization as a people, our communities, it's quite different from what pertains within the EU. So just like the example you cited, there was a bit of confusion, but we have maintained that for a farmer, for example, who lives in the farmstead, and the child is at the farmstead, and the child, because the child is unable to go to school on a specific day, it does not mean that the child is being used on the farm, and that is hindering the child's access to education, for which reason you can say that it is child labor. So there's some engagement to let them appreciate and understand our situation. For example, there was an ISO standards that were developed for the cocoa industry. Ghana and Cote d'Ivoire took the position that we are not going with that standards that have been developed, because going back that standard have been developed, it fails to take into consideration how we live as a people, as an Africans or people within West African region. So we have actually developed one that is going through the process of verification now, which will help us to be able to draw a distinction between us and them. Of course, we all generally agree that activities that hinders the growth of the child, that are hazardous, activities that prevent the children from going to school, must not be encouraged. But we also need to get the distinction. So, for example, one of the measures they use in concluding that there's child labor in Africa. They go conduct a survey and ask a child, have you carried water today? Yes. Was the water used for the spraying of cocoa farms? Yes. That means that the child is involved in hazardous activities because it's encouraging that. But you know very well that you go to a village, they have what they call one drum where they go to the riverside, fetch water, put it in, and then they use it for spraying. So you find such a situation and you conclude that for that reason, a 14-year-old child. But we have maintained that if you look at our laws, based on the body mass of the child, and then the quantity of water, for example, the child is carrying, you should be able to say that this is child labor and this is not. And we should be able to draw the distinction. So yes, I think we have reached a certain understanding, but then there's still more for us to engage going forward.
Child labor generally is an issue. I mean, outside of even the cocoa production, but does government have its own reporting on child labor in specific reference to the cocoa growing areas and cocoa production matter? Does government have any such reporting you can share with us?
Well, when it comes to child labor, the lead agency is actually the ministry responsible for employment, labor employment. They lead it, and Cocoa Board, because of issues about cocoa, we support and then we fit in. So yes, government has done quite an extensive work. Recently, there was some report that was published saying that child labor has gotten worse in West Africa, and then there have been several meetings where we point that, well, such report cannot be a good report, because if you look at the interventions and the various programs government is running, the number of children who are in school, and then you say rather that child labor is getting worse, clearly that is one which will be difficult for you to defend, because the indicators point to the opposite. So yes, government is doing quite a lot within this space, but like I said, that is within the domain of the ministry responsible for employment and labor.
Yes, I thought because it's specifically related to your area, which is cocoa production, etc. I mean, you would have, something to, for example, respond to claims of child labor practices, on cocoa farms. But that's fine. I mean, we will.
Oh, no, yeah. What I'm saying, I'm not saying that for us as Cocoa Board, we do not have information or we do not have data to support these claims. Yes, we do have them. But the question, when you said government, that was the reason why I said there's a ministry responsible, and then what we do fit into the general government policy and programs.
I see. Thanks so much, Fifi Boafo, Head of Public Relations at Cocoa Board. Thanks so much for speaking to us. Let's continue this conversation with Obed-Owusu Adai, who is convener of the civil society platform on cocoa. Hello, good evening, sir. Welcome to Eyewitness News. Have you seen this report or this regulation, and what does this mean for the society, for example?
Thank you very much, and good evening to your listeners. I've been listening to your interview with Fifi. I must say I do agree with him on most of the issues that he mentioned. But more specifically on the EUDR, the EU regulation, the deforestation regulation, yes, we have been following it for the past 2 or 3 years now, since the communication came out, I think somewhere in 2021, November 2021, when they started this process. We have been following it. And I must say it comes with a mixed bag of feelings. There are some very positive issues in there. And for us as civil society, we are also very concerned about the potential effects, implications on especially the smallholder cocoa farmer in Ghana. So yes, we have seen the report, and we are following it with this perspective that there are some things, but there are also some concerning issues in the regulation.
I see. So they talk about, how about they talk about child labor generally? It's an issue that maybe Ghana and Cote d'Ivoire.
The line is not very clear.
Yes, I'm saying that the issue about child labor, for example, is one that Ghana and Cote d'Ivoire especially have been grappling with. I don't know whether you have any thoughts on that as a society.
Hello, your line is not clear, please.
I think we'll have to raise you on another line. We'll raise you back on another line. Eyewitness News on 97.3 City FM. We've been speaking to Obed-Owusu Adai, convener of the civil society platform on cocoa. our line to him has been quite terrible. So we'll be trying to raise him back on the line. Eyewitness News on 97.3 City FM. A few of your messages that have been coming through. Atibila Moses in Boku says, indeed, we will definitely be in a dire situation should the IPP shut down their plants. I'm very confident that this too shall pass because we have the men, you say. Alex Kofi Yareni from Adenta Commando says, I thank the former president, John Dramani Mahama, for taking the nationalistic position to plead with the IPPs to calm down on their decision to cut power from the national grid. You say, and then Gaddafi in Yulo Krobo says this current government keeps taking credit for solving the energy crisis. Dumso, now what's preventing them from paying the IPPs, but rather discrimination approach? It shows Ghana is in reverse gear. You say. Eyewitness News on 97.3 City FM. More of your messages. This one from Eloti Jones says, Mohammed's God is not sleeping. Kama will serve you right. And a few others that we'll read to you in due time. Eyewitness News on 97.3 City FM. We'll take a short break, return with more.
Eyewitness News. Be there as it happens.
You know, Papa see that? And it's rickety car. Hey, Papa! Bobo, so how your engine now? It is half man, half amazing. Thanks to Cause and you. Can feel better energy. Can't touch this. Actually, guys, so Sancho's engine just died like that? Yes, so somebody managed to convince him that there is a better engine oil than Quartz. And he switched. Sancho Panzapa. Now, which engine oil can be better than Quartz? No other, my guy. Quartz with its age-resistant technology, it keeps your engine younger for longer. Now you know. Have you guys seen the new bottle design? It's superb. Quartz 9000 from Total Energies there improves fuel efficiency. Why do you think Mr. Mane and Logoso have taken the Quartz Nation movement World Cup like that? Sorry. Chairman. Hey, Quartz. Keep your engine younger for longer.
For Pepsodent, smiles are one of the most important things we have. The problem is, globally, 1 in 2 children suffer from cavities. Pepsodent, with maximum cavity protection, helps to prevent the formation of cavities. Pepsodent, because every smile matters. This advertisement has been vetted and approved by the FDA.
Let your voice be heard on Eyewitness News on Facebook at facebook.com/City97.3, Twitter at twitter.com/City973, and Instagram at instagram.com/City973 with the hashtag Eyewitness News.
Eyewitness News on 97.3 City FM. Now we do some politics. The New Patriotic Party, the National Presidential Vetting Committee of that party, has released a vetting schedule for the vetting of their presidential aspirants. It starts from Monday, the 3rd of July, to Thursday, the 6th of July. And for the first 3 days, 3 persons will be vetted each day. And then on Thursday, which is the last day, we'll have 1 person to be vetted, or 1 person being vetted. The statement was signed by Evans Dimaku, who is secretary to the National Presidential Vetting Committee of the party. My colleague Sami Wiafe has joined us in the studio to tell us really what that statement says. Sami, welcome to Eyewitness News.
Thank you very much, Salam. Good evening.
Yes. What does the statement actually say in terms of who appears when?
Okay, so before that, the party had earlier issued a statement announcing the composition of a vetting committee, which will be chaired by Professor Michael Okwe, former Speaker of Ghana's Parliament. Today, the committee was inaugurated by the General Secretary of the party. So it has Honorable Kwesi Amoakwata, the Minister for Roads and Highways, as a member. If you know, he's also the chairman of the disciplinary committee of the MPP. He's also in there. He has Mr. Stephen Abankwa Seche, also a member. Honorable Obi Amwa, Deputy Minister for Local Government, Rural Development, also a member. Lord Oblite Komen, the Director of Operations at the Jubilee House and a former national organizer of the MPP, is also in there. Lawyer Frank Davis, who happens to be the chairman of the legal committee of the MPP, is also in there as a member. Madam Rita Asobare, who happens to be the first vice chairperson of the MPP. Honorable Hackman Uwusu-Ajimai, the chairman of the National Council of the party, is also a member, and Madam Adeline Ahweria also being a member of the vetting committee. Obi Amwa will be the secretary of this particular committee, and the spokesperson of the committee, and Evans Nimako, the director of elections and research, will be the secretary of the committee. So that's why Evans issued this statement this evening. So the party says that it will begin the vetting of the 10 aspirants. At the time the party closed nomination, only 10 people have pegged and submitted forms to lead the party in the 2024 elections. So 10 of them will go through the vetting on Monday, the first day of the vetting, which is the 3rd of July. Honorable Alan Chemanting, Mr. Kojo Opoku, and His Excellency Dr. Mahamadou Bawumia will be vetted.
So these are the three who will be vetted on the
Yes,
same
and the
on the
vetting
same
starts
day.
at 10 a.m.
And ends at what time? We don't know.
So, they are done.
I mean, just before you continue, quite curious, why will Alan and Bawumia be on the same day? I mean, these two gentlemen will always, draw huge crowds. And why would the party want to put these two together on the same day? Any particular reason? Was it balloted? How did they come by this?
What I know was that there was balloting took place to know the dates that every aspirant is supposed to appear before the committee. And I'm sure during the balloting process, the two of them had to be the first persons to appear before the committee. And I'm sure the party will give regulations that no one should bring supporters when it comes to the vetting.
They'll say the supporters would have come spontaneously or on their own.
Well, the vetting is different from when you are picking or submitting forms. That one, you definitely want to show up with the numbers, so you all want to bring in supporters, but the vetting will be different. And then on Tuesday, which is the 4th of July, Honorable Boache Chemantie Jakun, Honorable Kwabena J. Japan, and Honorable Kennedy Ohine Japan. They will appear on Tuesday, 4th July. On Wednesday, the 5th of July, Honorable Dr. Kofi Kunodu Apreku, Dr. Owusu Akoto Efiye, and Honorable Joe Gatti will appear on Wednesday. And on Thursday, the final day, Honorable Francis Adainimo will appear before the committee. And the statement is expected that the presidential hopeful will take notice and attend upon the committee, signed Evans Nimako, secretary to the committee.
Very well. Thank you so much, Sami Wiafe, our presidential affairs correspondent, bringing us that information from the MPP national headquarters in respect of the National Presidential Vetting Committee's schedule, which puts Dr. Bawumia, Alan Chemanting, and Mr. Kojo Poku on the first day of the vetting. Eyewitness News on 97.3 City FM. Akosia has some more stories.
Let's move away from politics because the Executive Secretary of the National Identification Authority, Professor Kenneth Ifua, says he is unfazed at the numerous criticisms that has come his way since assuming office. Speaking on City TV's Breakfast Daily, Professor Tafua says he remains focused in carrying out his mandate. The NIA has come under fire following the inability of some Ghanaians to register their SIM cards as directed by government. But Professor Kenneth Ifua says they cannot be blamed.
I'm focused on doing the right thing, the best way possible. I don't do anything in a manner that could be done better. I do everything I do to the best of my abilities. So I am convinced that no other person could have done it better. But if somebody else could have done it better, it just means that we will be a notch higher as a society. What we've done at NIA, it far supersedes the understanding of those who were talking. Somebody was talking about doing this for $50 million. They have no clue what a national identification system is about. They have a clue about how to issue a national ID number. But ours, and that's just generated, developing an algorithm to give numbers. We have done that. We can give unique ID numbers to 300 million Ghanaians up until 300 years from now or whatever. We've set up that scheme. The science is done. We've done the verification system. We protected the data. We built the structures to secure your data, the bunkers to make sure that in the event of earthquake or disaster that the data is protected. We've done all that is needful. We are at a new phase. Those insulting me, first of all, I try not to listen to insults. They're too negative.
Professor Tefu also explains why issuance of NIE cards to some Ghanaians have delayed.
There are those whose data exists since President Kufuor's time. Her name is Frima. M-A, simple. Then under President Kufuor, then under President Akufo-Addo or Mahama, she goes and writes Frima with an H at the end. It changes the name completely. So when you come and you administer your fingerprint, the system arrests your application. She was previously married, has moved on, and she is not going through the appropriate legal procedure to change her name. Somebody goes and takes a new date of birth. We have a PhD holder who says he was born 1972. He has a birth certificate to prove it. He says he was born in 1962. He has a birth certificate to prove it. He says he was born in 1968. And he has other documentation which, if you do the transposition, you realize that, yes, the guy was born in 1968.
So which is which?
Which is which? And he presented one of them for his Ghana card. There are Ghanaians who lie. There are Ghanaians who have the nationalities of other countries that do not permit dual citizenship. And yet they come to Ghana. They are from Austria or Germany or the Netherlands. And then they come and get the Ghana card because they don't want to pay $120 for the foreigners. So they get the Ghana card for free. And then when they get into trouble, they will say that NIA lied. NIA made a mistake and issued them with a Ghana card. So the main reason people are not getting their cards, number one, is those who have provided contrary information. It may not necessarily be with an evil mind or a criminal intent, wrongful intent, but the point is that the information collides with something else that is in the system. And we have to correct it on a case-by-case basis. That's number one. Number two, there are those people who at the time of their registration, there was network challenge. We do our best to locate our registration centers. We survey every place the Electoral Commission used in the last election. That's what the law requires us to do, to use as our registration center. After using technology to determine where the network is strongest, then we locate the registration center. But sometimes, in the course of the work, the network just disappears.
That was voice of Professor Kenneth Tefu, Executive Secretary of the National Identification Authority.
It's time for City Business News. But before that, after City Business News, actually, we will bring you a wrap of our honor series on City Business Festival by bringing you today's edition of today's City Business edition, which is a summary of our conversations this week on Ghana's agricultural ecosystem. And that happens soon after City Business News with Ni Latte.
Time now for City Business News on Eyewitness News. It is powered by our most comprehensive business news website, citybusinessnews.com. I am Ni Latte. Let's settle for the details now. And economists are predicting dark consequences for the already struggling economy should the IPPs proceed to withdraw their services by July 1. The IPPs, which account for about 50% of power generation, are threatening to go off the national grid over debt owed them by the government. The group is therefore demanding a 30% interim payment on the amount owed by government by close of today. Speaking to City Business News, economist and dean of the University of Ghana Business of the University of Cape Coast Business School, Professor John Gachi, cautioned that this could be catastrophic for the economy.
The sector we are dealing with is very sensitive to economic management, is very sensitive to productivity, sensitive to social life of people. And for the managers, if they press on and go ahead, I believe it will have dire consequences for the economy. It will cripple most businesses. It will bring to a halt a lot of productive sectors. Even though we are crying about the cost of power, it's relatively cheaper than using your own generators and the rest. So the summary is that it's going to bring the economy to a halt, and that will create a devastation. There will be loss of revenue on daily basis, loss of productive hours for the period that exercise will go on. So it's not something that the government will look on to happen. The government should do everything possible to resolve this matter so that we do not go into such a challenge.
Professor John Gachi is an economist and Dean of the University of Cape Coast Business School. Now, the African Center for Economic Transformation has identified changes in the Constitution as one of the pivotal ways of driving transformation in the face of Ghana's current economic quagmire. The center makes the point that although the Constitution has aided some economic growth, the present situation requires amendment for the tough times ahead. Speaking at the second KB Miss Arthur Forum on the theme, Economic Policy Making in Ghana, Lessons Learned and the Way Forward, founder and president of the Africa Center for Economic Transformation, Dr. Kingsley Yeboah-Amoako, also made a strong push for the empowerment of the National Development Planning Commission to improve the state of the country's economy.
The Constitution has served us well for 30 years. But it's also clear that there are certain things that need to change if we want to have the Ghana we want, the transformed Ghana we're talking about. And my frustration is that every day you hear people making speeches about the Constitution. We had a Professor Tukuba is here. We have the Constitution Review Committee report. A lot is there. We need to move to action and to tackle some of the key. For example, in terms of the role of the National Plan Development Commission. I didn't say so, but when we're talking about the lessons, is that I said it's a partnership, consistency, but you need an agent somewhere that makes sure there's continuity. So the institution, NDPC. But when you see how the NDPC over the years has functioned and the constraint it faces, it's not been effective. And it's in the Constitution. Well, let's go back and say, how do we make the NDPC be the agent that we set a long-term vision? Then you have 5-year development plans. Every government comes to have its 5-year development, but it ties to the long-term vision. And the NDPC becomes the referee. So institutions matter.
That's founder and president of the African Center for Economic Transformation, Dr. Kingsley Yeboah-Amoako. Away from that, and the Finance Minister Ken Ofori-Atta is expected to present the mid-year budget review to Parliament on Thursday, July 27, 2023. This is in accordance with Section 28 of the Public Financial Management Act 2016, Act 921, which requires that the Finance Minister present a mid-year review to Parliament 6 clear months after the presentation of the main budget for that fiscal year. Here's the Majority Leader in Parliament, Osei Chairman Sabunsu, speaking on the floor of Parliament.
It's slated for a Thursday, the last Thursday of July. It's 27th, right? So it's 27th. In fact, yesterday I even made a mistake. In communicating to the Minister of Finance, I said 26th. But when I reclined, I think I saw that I had made a mistake. So it's rather 27th of July. We'll have the mid-year review.
That was the Majority Leader in Parliament, Osei Chairman Sabunsu. Now, Ghana Commercial Bank Limited recorded a 3 billion Ghana cedis revenue in 2022. This represents a 24% increase in the 578 million Ghana cedis recorded the previous year. Despite the overall revenue growth, the bank also recorded a loss before tax of 743 million Ghana cedis in 2022, in sharp contrast to a profit before tax of 832 million Ghana cedis in the prior year. Speaking at the bank's annual general meeting, Chairman of the bank, Jude Kofi-Arthur, outlined some measures the bank intends to roll out to generate improved earnings in 2023.
Capital raise, requiring shareholders' approval to proceed with the capital plan. I shall move to the first one. I hereby propose that directors be authorized to raise additional equity capital of up to 1 billion Ghana cedis through a renounce of the rights issue on such terms, including the share price, the number of corporate shares, allotment, and other modalities as the directors deem fit, and procure the additional listing of the issued ordinary shares on the Ghana Stock Exchange.
Jude Kofiatha is the chairman of the GCB Bank Limited. And finally, over 1.3 million euros of private investment has been committed to micro, small and medium enterprises by diaspora remittances through the We Do Africa platform to bolster economic resilience. This, according to the GIZ, forms part of the German corporation effort to address the unemployment situation in the country. Here is Country Director of GIZ Ghana, Regina Babusa, underscoring the need to offer financial support to entrepreneurs to widen their economic operations.
When we talk about sustainable economic development and employment in the Ghanaian context, we must recognize the crucial role that small businesses play as the backbone of the Ghanaian economy. They contribute to a large proportion of jobs created in the country, and according to a World Bank report, an estimated 98% of people entering the labor market seek employment in micro and small enterprises.
Regina Barbosa is the country director of GIZ Ghana. On her part, the chief executive of the Ghana Enterprises Agency, Kosi Yankee Aye, is expressing optimism of creating a new world of business environment through entrepreneurs.
Yes, the whole world is reeling, not only Ghana. The whole world is under stress. You turn on your TVs, you see what's happening even in Russia, in Europe, across the Asian continent, and you wonder. But entrepreneurs who are seated here today bring a lot of hope. And for me, the message today and the whole idea behind WIDU is hope. Hope for a nation, hope for people who have friends and relatives across the diaspora who have intentions of transforming their nation, transforming their families, and transforming their community. The Ghana Enterprises Agency was transformed from the NBSSI to GEA for many reasons, because it had to be that apex body that would bring hope to a lot of the MSMEs and entrepreneurs here.
Kosi Yankee Aye is the chief executive of the Ghana Enterprises Agency, and that's it for business on Eyewitness News. It was powered by our most comprehensive business website, citybusinessnews.com. I am Ni Lati Lati.